It was a Tuesday, I think. The rain lashed against the windows, turning the outside world into an indistinguishable mess of gray and green. The house was empty, eerily silent. Dad was at work, my little brother at soccer practice, and my sister Lily at her sign language class with her. I shivered, a chill running down my spine despite the warmth of the house. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my thoughts. It was a text from Dad, asking me to check if Laura, he always used her name, never Mom, had ordered groceries. I knew she hadn't. She rarely did, always complaining about how expensive everything was. Sighing, I headed towards her room, the faint lavender scent of her perfume hanging in the air like a bad omen. The laptop was open on the desk, her email inbox staring back at me. It would be so easy, I thought, to just take a peek, to confirm what my gut had been screaming at me for months, that her smiles were fake, her affection feigned, that beneath the carefully constructed facade of the perfect stepmom lurked a monster. Guilt gnawed at me as I scrolled through her inbox, a mixture of promotional emails and online shopping confirmations. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just as I was about to close the laptop, a notification popped up at the bottom of the screen. Our stepmom's new post in Am I the A-hole? Curiosity, that insidious beast, took hold. My finger hovered over the mouse pad, the cursor morphing into a beckoning finger. It wouldn't hurt to look, just a quick peek. With a click, I was sucked into the vortex of Reddit, a world I knew little about. The forum was a labyrinth of confessions, rants, and pleas for validation. Stories of blended families, of love and resentment. I scrolled through the posts, my heart pounding in my chest, a strange sense of foreboding washing over me. And then I saw it, a username that made my blood run cold. Lavender Dreams 1978. Lavender Dreams 1978. The name itself was innocuous enough, but in the context of my stepmom's open laptop, it felt like a brand searing itself onto my brain. A wave of nausea washed over me. This had to be her. There was no other explanation. My eyes darted to the title of the post. Am I a jerk for refusing to learn sign language for my stepdaughter? The words hit me like a physical blow. Lily, my little sister, had been born deaf. It was a constant source of pain for my father, the inability to communicate with his own daughter. Laura, to her credit, had been a pillar of support at the beginning, showering Lily with affection and promising to learn sign language. But the promises had been empty, the gestures hollow. She always had an excuse, always too busy, too tired, too overwhelmed to learn. And we, blinded by her seemingly genuine concern, had believed her. Clicking on the post felt like jumping off a cliff. I knew in that instant that there was no going back. That my relationship with Laura, tenuous as it was, would never be the same. The post was even worse than I could have imagined. I love my husband so much, she'd written, but his kids are a nightmare, especially the deaf one. She's always clinging to him, demanding his attention. It's like she knows I can't understand her, so she uses it to her advantage. The words cut through me like shards of glass. The casual cruelty, the utter lack of empathy, was staggering. Lily wasn't manipulative. She was a child desperate for her father's love, a love that Laura seemed to resent. I scrolled down, each comment a fresh wave of disgust and disbelief. "You're not the a-hole," one user had written. "It's not your responsibility to raise someone else's kids, especially one with special needs." Another chimed in, "Your husband needs to step up and hire a professional. You deserve a break." A small, insidious part of me whispered, maybe they're right. Maybe I was being too hard on Laura. Being a stepmom was hard, I knew that. But the image of Lily, her sweet, innocent face lighting up every time Dad managed to clumsily sign "I love you," banished any shred of doubt. There were dozens of posts, each one chipping away at the carefully constructed facade Laura had built around herself. Rants about my laziness, I was working part-time and going to college full-time. Complaints about my brother's constant noise. He was a teenage boy, for God's sake. And thinly veiled jabs at my father's weight. He'd gained a few pounds since the divorce, a fact she never failed to point out. But it was the posts about Lily that hurt the most. The ones where she complained about having to deal with her. The ones where she expressed relief when Lily was at her mom's. The ones where she called her a burden. The hypocrisy was staggering. Laura, who made a big show of buying Lily the latest noise-canceling headphones, who insisted on taking her to doctor's appointments, who pretended to be the caring stepmom, secretly resented her very existence. And the worst part? She seemed relieved when we weren't around. Posts about enjoying the peace and quiet when we were at our mom's, about finally having the house to herself, about her and Dad being able to reconnect without us kids getting in the way. It was one thing to resent us, to find us inconvenient, but to use Lily to manipulate her deafness to garner sympathy and then complain about it online, that was unforgivable. Lily adored Laura. Her Lala showered her with affection, her little hands signing "I love you" with an enthusiasm that used to bring tears to my eyes. And Laura? She would smile that saccharine smile, pat Lily's head, and then run to her computer to complain about what a burden it all was. The thought of it made my stomach churn. Hours passed. The rain outside intensified, mimicking the storm raging inside me. Betrayal, anger, and a profound sense of sadness washed over me in waves. How could someone be so two-faced, so fake? I had never been particularly close to Laura. She had come into our lives 3 years after our parents' divorce, a whirlwind of forced smiles and promises to be there for us. But something about her had always felt off, like a puzzle piece forced into the wrong space. Now I knew why. As I closed the laptop, a plan started to form in my mind. I wouldn't confront her directly, not yet. She would deny it, twist the narrative, make herself the victim. No, I would play her game, use her own words against her. I would print out every post, every comment, every cruel, heartless word she had ever written about us. I would leave them on the kitchen table, right next to the half-written grocery list she'd scribbled on a napkin. And then I would wait. The sound of the front door opening pulled me out of my thoughts. I quickly slammed the laptop shut, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear Laura's voice, overly cheerful, asking Lily about her day. The sound made me sick to my stomach. I took a deep breath, composing myself. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. But for now, I had what I needed, the truth. And armed with the truth, I would protect my family, even if it meant destroying hers.